Hello, everyone, and welcome to Effective Communication Skills for the Workplace. This is a class that's going to focus on internal communication. And internal communication means the communication that happens inside an organization. And it goes in two directions. So it's communication from leadership and management to workers and people that are doing the work, that are on the front lines, that are providing customer service, that are making the product, that are inspecting the product, all those kinds of things. So it's communication from leadership and management to the people doing the work or providing the services. And it's also communication from those people that are manufacturing the products or providing the services back up to the people in management and leadership. So internal communication is both communicating the mission of the organization and the goals that the organization has to the people that are doing the work, and then also leadership listening to the people who are doing the work so that they can see what the challenges are, what the problems are, where the successes are, and they could lead and manage more effectively. This is in contrast to external communication, which is the communication that happens between an organization and the people outside. So between a business and its customers or potential customers, between people in a university and students or potential students, between a government agency and clients or potential clients. That kind of communication is covered in a variety of other courses, courses on marketing and publicity. But this is mainly a course that deals with how do we communicate inside an organization in order to help it function and better and perform in optimal ways. And so we'll look at, we'll start off by looking at our own communication styles. That's a place where we can make some self-discovery, become a little more self-aware, and that helps us to communicate with others more effectively. And knowing what our own strengths and weaknesses are in terms of communication enables us to perhaps see in others what's helpful and what's not so helpful. So we'll start there. And then the following week, we'll spend some time talking about mentors and leadership coaches and the similarities and differences between those two roles. You'll start working on an authentic leadership essay because leadership is crucial for communication. And it's not just the people that have formal titles and roles in leadership or in management, but anybody in an organization who has the ability to influence others is a leader. And so we're going to talk about what makes an authentic leader, what makes an effective leader. We'll talk about a variety of different tools for internal communication, email, blogs, memos, what's the best face-to-face meetings, what's the best way to get a message across and throughout an organization. We'll talk about culture in two senses. We'll talk about organizational culture, that different organizations have a way of doing things and a way of being, a way of interpreting the world that affects all that they do. Some organizations have a person-focused culture. Some organizations have a role-focused culture. We'll talk about those things and how they affect communication. And we'll also talk about societal culture, that, for example, it can be a challenge for people in a Chinese culture to interact with people in the American culture, that there are different expectations, that there are different roles, that there are different assumptions about how things are done. That could be challenging if we don't take them into consideration and can sometimes cause some significant conflict. So we'll talk about societal culture and how that affects internal communication in a world where many companies have a multinational presence. We'll also talk a bit about putting together a professional bio and how that can be an effective tool for communicating. You'll refine your authentic leadership essay into a final product in week 5. And we'll also spend some time talking about change and transition. Change is the external reality of what happens, of things in the world becoming different. And transition is the internal experience of change, the internal emotional and intellectual things that happen when we experience change. We'll talk about that a bit. So it's a lot of material. Many of you have been through courses before in the American Women's College. You know that cramming a semester into 6 weeks can be pretty intense. One of the great things about this class is I think there's a lot of material that's immediately applicable to our context. No matter what situation we're in, no matter where we work, we can apply some of these insights and some of these skills. So I'm really looking forward to going through this material with you together. There are 22 of us in this class, 21 students and me. So I really encourage you to follow the rubric for discussion forums. So 3 posts is what will enable you to get full credit. If you really have something else to say and you want to do more than 3, that's okay. But since there are so many of us, if each one of us does 3 posts, that's going to be 66 things that everybody has to read. That's quite a bit. So this is, I believe, one of those cases where brevity is a virtue. And so if you read the rubric for discussion posts, you'll see that there is a focus on brevity in these things. Again, many of you have had this experience before, but I really encourage you to try to say what you have to say as succinctly as possible. If you have any questions or you have something that you want to discuss further, you're totally free to get in touch with me by email, through Canvas, or you can even send me a text or give me a phone call. I'm open to whatever mode of communication is most beneficial to you. So again, I'm really looking forward to our time together, and please reach out to me if there's any way that I can be helpful.